Ever imagine yourself, like as a teenager, just bursting with ideas, but kind of hitting a wall, not really having your voice heard?
Yeah.
Well, that's Benjamin Franklin's story.
Really?
18th century Boston.
Wow.
His brother ran the local paper, wouldn't publish his writing.
Oh, interesting.
So what did Ben do?
I don't know what.
He gets creative, creates this pen name, Silence Do Good.
Silence do good.
Yeah, a made-up, middle-aged widow. Gets his work out there. And that's the spirit we're going to be looking at today in this deep dive. Going from this mischievous young Ben Franklin to, they call him the first American.
I've heard that, yeah.
We've got an expert on all things Franklin with us today.
Great to be here.
And we're looking at some really cool excerpts from the American History Hit podcast.
Okay.
Specifically, an episode with an interview with Marcia Balenciano. She's the director of the Benjamin Franklin House in London. So we're going to get a glimpse into Franklin's early life, his inventive spirit, what shaped him.
It's amazing how that early rebelliousness kind of foreshadows his whole life, doesn't it? Ambition, challenging norms.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's dig into that.
Okay.
Born in Boston, 1706.
Big family.
17 kids.
Wow.
His father had.
Oh, his father. Okay.
Yeah. Not a ton of formal education, but his dad apprenticed him to his brother James, a printer.
Yeah.
And like we said, he ran the New England Current.
Right.
That's where Ben's writing bug started.
But apprenticeships back then, those were the only way to learn a trade.
Right.
Make a living.
Totally.
So for someone like Franklin, so curious, wanting to express himself.
Yeah.
Must felt stifling.
So restrictive. That's where Silence Do Good comes in.
Right.
Pure genius.
Yeah.
This middle-aged widow
He just created her.
starts submitting letters to his brother's paper under her name.
So sneaky.
Satirical, witty, talking about free speech, colonial life. People loved it.
He knew his audience.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Bypassing his brother, engaging the public, honing his writing, all as a teenager.
He's the sharp guy.
Yeah.
But fame's got a price, right? Even with a fake name.
Uh-oh.
James figures it out.
Busted.
Yeah. Discovers it's his little brother behind it all. Not happy. Relationship goes south. Franklin, basically a runaway apprentice,
No way.
hightails it to Philadelphia.
Wow. Turning point.
Big time.
Classic story, breaking free. New horizons.
Totally.
It's the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Shows up in Philly, barely a penny to his name.
Meets Deborah Reed.
The future Mrs. Franklin.
Yep. Connects with bigwigs like Governor William Keith.
He was going places.
Philadelphia really sets the stage.
It does.
And then London,
London calling.
Governor Keith, super impressed with Franklin.
Uh-huh.
Promises to bankroll a trip across the pond.
To advance his printing. Right.
Exactly.
Can you imagine?
18th century London.
Buzzing.
Huh.
Coffee houses. New discoveries, radical politics. What a scene.
Totally. A hotbed of ideas.
And for a guy like Franklin,
Oh, man.
a dream. Ambitious. Curious.
But life's got a way of throwing curveballs.
What happened?
Keith's money falls through.
Oh, no.
Franklin has to hustle, finds work with this Quaker merchant,
Oh,
Thomas Denham.
okay.
But he doesn't let it get him down, He's soaking it all up.
London has a lot to offer.
Honing his skills. He even starts writing his autobiography.
Wow, already.
Pretty amazing, reflecting on everything.
He's just such a window into his mind.
Yeah, formative time for him. His ideas on society, politics, even slavery, really evolving.
Interesting.
Huge growth.
And then,
Denham offers him a job back in Philly.
the return
He's ready.
to make his mark.
This is where he really becomes a public figure. Not just skills from London, but a whole new perspective.
And how cool is that? The way his views change over time. Like on slavery, for example.
Yeah.
Starts out accepting it, later becomes an abolitionist.
Shows you how complex people are.
Yeah.
Even the icons, they can change.
Absolutely. But his impact wasn't just in America, was it? He was huge in London, too.
That's right. We talked about the Lunar Society, but he was really plugged into this whole transatlantic network of thinkers and scientists sharing ideas back and forth.
Right, yeah. Which is so important for how the Enlightenment developed on both sides of the ocean.
Totally.
And Franklin, he kind of bridged the gap, right? American practicality, but also into the European intellectual stuff.
And you can't forget about him as a diplomat. Later on, ambassador to France.
Oh, yeah, right. Crucial during the Revolution.
Absolutely.
Shows his range, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Master negotiator, getting folks on board with the American cause.
It really is amazing how good he was at so many different things. Writer, inventor, scientist, diplomat, always working to make things better. But what I find interesting is this theme of self-improvement. Like, it's all through his life, his writing.
Oh, totally. He was all about learning, growing, always trying new things, figuring out what worked, always wanting to be better.
And it wasn't just for himself. He wanted to share what he learned, help other people grow too, like with his autobiography.
Meant it for his son, William.
Yeah.
But it's not just bragging about what he did, is it? It's like, here's what I learned. Here's how to live a good life.
Anyone can do it, he thought. Work hard, stick with it, keep learning.
Which brings us to education. The libraries, the academy in Philadelphia, later the University of Pennsylvania.
All about making knowledge available. Didn't matter who you were.
Revolutionary back then.
Totally. And for Franklin, it wasn't just about books and smarts, practical skills, being a good citizen, morals. It was all part of it.
For a better society, it's something we're still figuring out, isn't it? Access to education, what to teach. Franklin's ideas are still relevant.
Oh, yeah. And then there's that famous list, the 13 virtues: temperance, silence, order, resolution. All these guidelines he lived by.
Some of them sound a bit, old-fashioned now. But the ideas are still good, right? Self-control, honesty, hard work, being good to others.
The building blocks of a good society. And he didn't just talk about it. He actually kept track, made charts to see how he was doing.
Seriously, that's dedication. Shows that growing as a person, it never really stops. We can all learn from that.
Trying to be better.
For ourselves and for everyone. But for all his big ideas, Franklin was a practical guy too.
Definitely. He wanted to see things happen, not just theories.
Right.
Results, real world change.
Which is, when you think about it, a big part of why we still remember him. His inventions, the civic stuff, his diplomacy, it was all about solving problems, making life better.
Makes you wonder, what if we were all a bit more like that today? How would we tackle things differently?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it kind of brings us to another fascinating thing about Franklin, his science stuff, especially the work with electricity.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We're not talking just tinkering. This is like cutting edge research.
Yep.
Changing how people thought about electricity.
Remember, this is the 1700s. Electricity was still this big mystery. Some people thought it was like magic almost. Right. Or even dangerous.
But Franklin, through all these careful experiments he did, he starts to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And show how you could actually use it.
I mean, think about it. Back then, lightning, that was a force of nature. People were scared of it.
Totally.
And then Franklin comes along with his kite experiment,
Yeah.
dares to mess with lightning, helps people see it in a whole new way.
Whether or not the experiment happened exactly like the story, it really captured people's imaginations.
Oh yeah, he became a science celebrity.
That image of the key and the kite, it's a symbol of how ingenious he was,
Fearless, too.
showing that you can study the forces of nature, you'll understand them. If you're careful, you experiment.
But he wasn't just about theories, he wanted to make things better, right? Solve problems. That's where the lightning rod comes in.
It's so simple, but so brilliant.
Right. Using science to protect people from lightning.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, here's science.
Yeah.
It can help us.
Exactly.
And his curiosity didn't stop there, did it? He was looking into all kinds of stuff, weather, the ocean, always observing, trying things out, just figuring out how the world works.
He was a true trailblazer, always thinking about how to use what he learned to help people. And there's one more amazing thing about his science legacy, I think.
What's that?
He didn't patent his inventions.
You're kidding.
He thought knowledge should be free, shared with everyone.
Wow, what a generous guy.
It was really forward thinking. He knew progress depends on sharing ideas, letting other people build on what you've done.
It makes you think, what if more people did that today?
Right. Especially now, with technology moving so fast, it's a good reminder that we can achieve more when we work together and are open to sharing our discoveries.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the amazing life of Benjamin Franklin, we're left with this feeling of, awe. He was a man of incredible talent, always curious, and dedicated to serving the public good. Writer, inventor, scientist, diplomat, and maybe most importantly, a true believer in the Enlightenment. Reason, progress, knowledge.
His story shows us that one person can make a real difference.
He was a true original.
Absolutely. And next time you see a lightning rod, or borrow a book from the library, or even just flick on a light switch, Benjamin Franklin.
His life was all about pushing boundaries, learning, and making the world better.
Exactly. So keep exploring, asking questions, never stop learning. The possibilities are endless.
Great advice. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.